Welcome to the Latitude Venture Matchup. It's really exciting. This has never happened before, where we have exciting companies presenting where the founders are Latinx entrepreneurs. Moreover, we have Latinx investors that will also be evaluating these various different opportunities to invest. This is really exciting. You know, I spent a lot of my time finding investments to back. And what makes it more exciting is that from this day forward, the way Latinx entrepreneurs get funded changes. So I was giving some thought to how to introduce this concept to you all. In the world of venture capital, it is difficult. We know that a lot of Latinx entrepreneurs knock on a lot of doors and don't always get the same access to capital. And part of the reason is because we have a view of venture capital that is in many ways vilified. We don't understand how that dynamic works. Well, I got news for you. Today, you will be in the minds of the investors as they view these investment opportunities. Moreover, we're Latinos. Relationship is so important to us. We're not sharks. We're not judges. We're familia. We think through things in a different pattern. So as I was thinking, how do we get these investors up here? What is the right cultural context? And I thought, what is important in our community? You know, an investor is making a long-term bet in someone. They're building a relationship. They're walking through them through thick and thin. And I thought, who does that in our community? And I couldn't think of a better descriptor than madrinas and padrinos. So without further ado, help me welcome our first madrina. To the stage will come Noramay Cadena.
Beto, they're on their way.
And this is where I sing and dance. You should also know that there's an organization that is very close with Latitude as well. And it's an organization that was started specifically to promote, identify, promote, and help Latino entrepreneurs scale beyond $1 million in revenue. Of the 9 companies you're going to see, 5 have a relationship with that group. And that is the Latino Business Action Network that works closely with Stanford's Graduate School of Business. And through that program, cohorts annually of roughly 60 to 70 Latinos from all over the country attend an intensive 7-week program that's on-site and virtual to help them scale. In 2 weeks, they will start their 8th cohort, bringing the number of Latinos that have gone through this program to nearly 600. When you think of how important Latino entrepreneurs are to our economy, it is wonderful to have a partnership with an organization and with an institution of higher learning that is already recognizing and investing itself in the promotion and the mentorship of Latino entrepreneurs. A lot of the investors are now coming to the table and saying, I want to know what comes out of that product. I want to know and learn and meet these folks. So we're very excited that of the dozens and dozens of applicants we had, which took months and months to vet, a great number of those are folks that have gone through the SLATE program, the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative.
All right, Beto, we sent them back to get their checkbooks, and they're backstage ready to come out. Let's
Wonderful.
Meet our judges.
Wonderful. Well, our first judge, as I mentioned, is Noramay Cadena. Please help me welcome Noramay Cadena from Mila Capital. Now to the stage, I'd like to ask Ana Quintana to come and join us on stage. She is with Black Diamond Ventures. I'd like to welcome Roman Leal from Leap Global Ventures. And lastly, Samara Hernandez from Chingona Ventures. What is this? Oh, we've been talking that, females are not funding companies. They're not getting as much venture capital. But we're here breaking barriers at Latitude. And as you can see, 75%, 3 out of our 4 judges are female investors. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be really exciting, but this is a big task. And it's a big task for me. I sit on the side of the table as an investor. But the reality is that there's 2 sides of this table. The other side is the entrepreneur and the difficulty they have to pass. I would like you to help me welcome my co-host, a wonderful entrepreneur, launched his own startup, has also been one of the few Latinos that have gone through Y Combinator, which is a very prestigious accelerator, and he runs a very successful company. And he's been so gracious with his time, spending time with the companies that have applied, to nurture them, to review their decks and the like. Please help me welcome Ricardo Garcia Amaya. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for joining us.
Thank you.
And this will be an exciting event. So let me tell you real quick what you're gonna witness, and I'm gonna turn it over to Ricardo, who has spent a lot of time with these companies. You're gonna see 9 companies. The first 5 companies are what we're calling our rising stars. They will have 3 minutes to deliver their pitches, and then 3 minutes to dialogue with our madrinas and our padrino, and explore a match, whether it's capital, whether it's a relationship, whether it's advice. Remember, matchup is more than just capital. This is a long-term relationship. After you see the rising stars, we will then welcome to the main stage our main presenters that will each have 5 minutes to deliver their pitch and 5 minutes for Q&A and the like. After that, the judges will confer for some amount of time. But essentially, at the end, we're going to announce some real matchups between our sources of capital and our fledgling entrepreneurs. Ricardo.
Awesome. No, this is extremely exciting. In Silicon Valley, this is not the usual VC profile, so this is really exciting to be able to have you guys here. I'm really excited about the companies that are coming up. The first ones are the rising stars, so let's get started. I'm going to introduce Jessica Garcia from Tosuda. Let's give it a hand. Suspense.
All right, we'll get our contestants backstage in just a moment. How about a little bit more about those contestants?
Absolutely. Well, why don't we speak a little bit, Samara, tell us a little bit about your fund.
Yeah, hi everyone. Samara with Chingona Ventures. So as the name suggests, Chingona is badass woman. I'm investing in badass founders. So thank you for being here and for having me. We invest in pre-seed and seed stage companies, so super early, where they have raised less than $1 million in outside funding. And so far, I've made 5 investments. I'm about to close another 2, so I'm very active and looking forward to the presentations.
Wonderful. Roman, bendito entre las mujeres.
Yes, very, very, very blessed. Roman Leal, everyone, Lead Global Partners. We are a fund that's based in Silicon Valley, but we invest in the U.S. and in Mexico. So we're a cross-border fund. Our investors are also U.S.-based and Mexico-based. Very proud to have co-invested alongside Beto a number of times and invested in VOIQ, one of our portfolio companies. It's great to be here. I think a lot of the Valley, it's about collaboration, and so we're investing ultimately in people. And we also, we co-invest alongside building long-term relationships, like Beto said.
Wonderful.
Excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ana Quintana, managing partner of Black Diamond Ventures. I've been in venture for 19 years, and I also co-founded She Ventures in Tech. It's a group of women supporting women entrepreneurs and giving them funding advice. We invest in Series B all the way through an exit and in various sectors. So
wonderful.
Glad to be here.
And Nora Mai.
Yes, I'm Nora May Cadena. I have a fund called Mila Capital out of Los Angeles. And we're making pre-seed and seed stage investments in companies that are at the intersection of technology and manufacturing. So what we call hard technology, logistics, supply chain. We've been investing for the last 4.5 years, and my background is in engineering.
Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful. What do you look for in a company when you're investing?
I'll start. You know, we talk a lot about process and a formula for success, and I think what I learned today from hearing some of the other entrepreneur stories is that that formula doesn't necessarily have to be a certain education coupled with Goldman Sachs or McKinsey coupled with you were part of another startup and you broke away and you created your own. I think that formula can also be the kind of grit that is inherent with a lot of our backgrounds as first generation in this country, and that was a really welcoming reminder throughout the day that that formula doesn't have to be, you know, events and things on your resume. That formula can be all the stuff that's in the background that is not visibly displayed, but someone has to be ready and willing to peel back the layers to learn about you and discover that, holy shit, there's someone here with potential.
Wonderful.
All right, we have our contestants.
Excellent. Well, right before we start, if I may for a second, realize that these investors, these madrinas and padrinos, are willing to deploy some capital if they find something that fits their investment criteria, and they will do due diligence based on that. We also have an investor that could not join us. His name is Tom Chavez, a very successful entrepreneur, sold his last company, I want to say for $800 million. Maybe I'm off by 100 million. But Tom couldn't join us today because it is his mother's 80th birthday. Y familia first. But Tom contributed $100,000 to the pot. Okay? Lastly, if you were here yesterday, you know that Oscar Munoz and Mark Benioff each committed $1 million to the Latitude Fund. So there's real money, people.
That's right. All right. Now, Jessica from Tosuda.
All right.
The screens are off. There's no.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Garcia, and I'm the CEO and founder of Tosuda. At Tosuda, we design and manufacture a head impact sensor for concussion awareness. Now, my abuelita Hortensia always used to call me Tosuda because I was hard at it, and also because I got a lot of concussions growing up. But my worst one by far was when I was at Lehigh University studying global studies and entrepreneurship, and my coach left me in a rugby game without knowing the signs and symptoms. Because of that, I had post-concussive symptoms for 6 months. Now, when I went back to school and got my master's in engineering, I realized I wasn't the only one. 3.8 million concussions occur each year, but what's more startling is that 50% of them go undiagnosed or recognized, according to the CDC. Now, we have traction in the sporting goods market because that's where the most education and awareness is, and we have about 5,000 users in the US and Japanese markets. Now, where we see the largest opportunities in the construction industry, because OSHA's standards are antiquated. They consider loss of consciousness a head injury, and we know that 90% of concussions do not result in a loss of consciousness. So if we were able to know when this injury happens sooner and get them to the doctor within that first 24 hours, we could reduce the 3 to 6 month recovery time down to 1 to 2 weeks. Now, this is not a diagnostic tool, but what it is an objective tool to let people know when they're hurt. And all you have to remember is if it's red, check your head. Our device is going to activate from rotational or linear impacts from any direction, and we can adjust our device based on age and application of our player. We have 2 patents, and we have 1 patent pending and a PCT patent pending as well. We listen to our users who want it simple, affordable, reliable, and that's what we delivered. You attach our device to any helmet, and it's simply on and monitoring from the get-go. There's no electronics, there's no batteries, so people could focus on playing their game or working on their job. We have a retail SKU available, and we also have team packs to service our different sales channels. We are raising $1 million in capital today because we've been approached by a helmet manufacturer that needs a minimum of 500,000 units in order to fulfill that order. We have to increase our tooling and production capabilities. Our assembly, we have to automate parts of it. And this has been developed by 5 talented engineers. And we need business development and sales and marketing support to actually grow our team. So thank you for your time. And if it's red, check your ad.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Judges.
This is an area where our fund has actually spent quite a bit of time. 4 years ago, we made an investment in this space in a different form factor, but still looking at concussion detection systems. So I have a bunch of questions, but I'll start with 2. One is calibration for gender and weight. You have no software. It's a prepackaged product. So how and when does that happen? And then 2, your order size is driven by the supplier and not driven by the sales pipeline, and that's really scary, right? Because that means you're taking the capital and you're buying inventory, and it may or may not sell. Can you talk a little bit about sales pipeline and whether this is direct to consumer, or are you trying to sell in large order quantities?
Yeah, great question. So we calibrate the device before it's sold. So we would have different models for youth and adults. Right now, we do not have something that's gendered, but that's something that we're studying and going forward with. And we have it based on a 75% probability rate of injury. So that's how we calibrate our device. And then with the sales channel, with the helmet manufacturer themselves, they're the largest hard hat manufacturer in the UK. And the UK is much further advanced than the US is in regards to standards. So they would integrate this into their basic hard hat. Not just having this be an add-on product. We would have to support them through sales and marketing efforts, but before they'll even play with us, they have to know that we're able to produce this amount to start off with.
I don't know too much about the industry, but I would love to know about the unit economics. So what is the price and your cost today, and where can it go?
Yeah, absolutely. So our most expensive aspect of the product is our assembly cost. So it takes about $10 to make one of our units today, and that could significantly drop off as we automate it, and we've already targeted partners that could help us make 4 sensors a minute if we were to invest in that. So we know that the cost of goods sold is only going to go down, because right now I'm literally manufacturing myself in Philadelphia. So if we have the right partner, that's only going to get better.
Can you talk a little bit more about your customers? So back to the sales pipeline, you have the hardware, the hard hat manufacturer.
Yep.
But who else is in your pipeline that is really interested?
Yeah, so we have a lot of, our end user is different from our customers. So we have athletes who wear our device, weekend warriors who bike, but our customer is the parent who's concerned about their player, someone who's concerned about themselves because they play recreational sports. We're also targeting athletic directors and coaches who are purchasing for the whole team. So that's where our real initial traction is with coaches, athletic directors, and parents. So we do offer direct to consumer, but we really want to approach the helmet manufacturers that could integrate this directly.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Awesome
Awesome.
job, Jessica. All right.
Thanks.
So now we have Ramona Ortega from My Money, My Future. Welcome.
I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about my relationship to money. I grew up in Northern California, daughter of third-generation Mexican-American farm workers. We didn't have a lot of money in my house, so we just didn't talk about it. And the thing is about money, if you don't learn about it at home, then you don't learn about it at school, then you just don't learn about it, and you make costly money mistakes. My story is not unique. Millions of Americans are impacted by the racial wealth gap. 50% of Americans don't have $1,000 to cover emergency savings, and a growing number of people don't have $20,000 in net worth. The good news is, this is a billion-dollar opportunity. I spent many years on Wall Street as a corporate securities litigator, and one of the things that I learned was how the wealthy manage their money. And so in 2016, I left the only economic security that I had to start a company to solve this problem. My name is Ramona Ortega. I'm the CEO and founder of My Money, My Future. My Money, My Future is on a mission to help millennials and the new generation build wealth. We help millennials like Raquel make smarter financial decisions. We are disrupting the trillion-dollar financial services industry by giving people what they really want, a trusted financial partner. We use data and APIs to help people get started and stay on track. The Money Made Simple dashboard is an all-in-one platform that guides people through all of life's financial decisions. Our financial foundation is super important. It helps people build a real foundation, not just a set and forget budgeting. We give people information on insurance, investing, budgeting, and all kinds of other decisions related to legacy planning. We have an automated API integrated budgeting tool so you can connect your accounts all in one place. Our financial plans are what makes us different. We provide financial education alongside a financial checklist and integrate that with a recommendation on financial products so we can help people take action all in one place. Our business model, based on affiliate fees and sponsored content, allows us to bring value to our users like Raquel by giving them free financial guidance and value to our financial partners who can reach a new generation of customers. Our model is working. We have over 2,000 customers, and we've seen 20% month-over-month organic growth in 2019. But we want to reach even more millennials, the kind that work in your companies, the kind that go to your universities. And so we're happy to be announcing that we've been rolling out a financial wellness solution to work with universities and to work with employers to help people meet their goals. It's not often you get the opportunity to do well and do good. So we ask for your support in helping us help millennials like Raquel not just survive, but thrive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramona. So my company invested in Acorns, as you know. It's gotten huge, and a big part of it was customer engagement early on and having this virality effect happen. So can you talk a little bit more about your customer engagement? Who's your customer? How are they using you? How have you retained them?
Yes.
And then talk about a virality effect that you're looking at from a growth strategy.
Absolutely. So for customer acquisition, we're very lucky in that most of our customers in our age group, which is anywhere from like 23 to like 35, generally millennials who are interested in making financial decisions, are on Instagram. So we can target them from a highly targeting marketing perspective in terms of dollars. But more importantly, we're also building engagement offline and online. So we're building strategic relationships with people who are already trusted. National organizations, national media companies, Me Too, The Skim, Refinery 29, Girl Boss. So those are the kinds of places where those people are already at. So in terms of a distribution strategy, it allows us to keep our customer acquisition costs very low, and then our LTV is high. So that's one key strategy. And in terms of what we're sort of the next iteration of customer acquisition looks like in terms of virality, it's really about the referral, right? We need to get a one-to-one ratio for our referrals. And the way that we plan to do that is building a better roadmap and engagement inside the platform itself. So on our roadmap, we have a Yelp-like platform, or sort of part of our platform, that will be available so people can make recommendations on financial products that they've used. So think Yelp for financial products living inside our platform.
Thanks.
Two quick ones. Number one, when you talk about the LTV, what's driving that? So today, my understanding is all advertising revenue, and if not so, what else is in there? But where do you ultimately go? Like, do you want to actually be the budgeting tool and launch a financial product on top of that, or is it going to be recommendation driven?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to clarify, it's not necessarily advertisement, because it's a very specific line of revenue in which we will play out on, but it's affiliate fees, which means if someone buys an insurance product on our site, that insurance company pays us a dollar amount. Mortgage companies, banking, credit cards. So we're not just a budgeting app. The budgeting tool is built in because we can replicate that now through APIs, right? So we can replicate most of the features you see in other fintech companies. What we're doing is helping people make the right decisions about different types of financial products. And then we get paid an affiliate fee, and we additionally get paid sponsorship fees if we're working with them to create content for their specific campaigns. What we do see in our future, and this is, I think, not far out, within another 4 or 5 years, we'll be able to create our own financial products, working with traditional financial institutions, take insurance institutions, for example. I want a one-priced solution for working class people to be able to get emergency savings, a 401k, and insurance.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much, Ramona. Great job. We're going to bring to the stage Anna from Tagit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Bermudez, and I am the founder and CEO of Tagit, the mobile app that TV viewers use to buy items from their favorite TV shows. I am a local San Diegan, born and raised in the immigrant community of Logan Heights, where my grandparents and parents immigrated in 1977, a proud first-generation American. But unfortunately, my neighborhood was plagued with gangs, violence, drugs, and teenage pregnancy was so common that my mother became pregnant with me at the tender age of 18. And my sister wasn't too far along when she became a mother at the age of 14. That's when I knew that I wanted to do something different to create a different path for my family. I went to school right up the street, San Diego High School, where I learned how to code, and I got accepted to the University of Notre Dame, where I studied finance, started my career in wealth management at Merrill Lynch, and that's where I learned that the first steps to creating generational wealth were in owning a home, which I did at the age of 24, moved my family out of the hood, and at 27, I purchased an investment property to create some cash flow. That's when I started Tagit, the mobile app that TV viewers use to buy items from their favorite TV shows. And that's right, folks, we're using your phone to identify content on TV in real time to collect consumer behavior data. And consider us the Shazam of TV. That's exactly how it works. It pings you and it says, hey, Anna, I see that you're watching a show like Insecure on HBO. Here's a list of merchandise related to that episode that you may be interested in purchasing. And that is the Tagit solution. We are generating revenue in 3 ways. We're collecting a percentage of every item sold. We are charging our partners advertising fees to prioritize their content. And more importantly, we are listening to digital media content to be able to provide valuable data for our partners. We are capitalizing on a $63.5 billion attainable market from the $517 billion that are spent on e-commerce every year and the over 111 million TV viewers that are using their mobile while watching TV. We are a Latina-founded and funded company. My very best friend, Carolina Mercado Forsman, is our chief of data and one of the very few Latinas that has over 10 years experience as a data scientist. We are a unique team because unlike our competitors, we are the only company that was selected by NBC Universal to participate in the Edge Accelerator and come up with more opportunities to create advertising revenue for companies like NBC. We have very comparable acquisitions recently, with Viacom purchasing Pluto TV for $340 million for their ability to monetize content and ads. I think we're cool, but we're not the only ones. It's been a credible community effort like the Latitude event, who have invited us to participate in events like this for exposure and access to capital. Now, I've said a lot of things today with you today, folks, and if you remember anything, please remember, the next time you watch it, if you want it, all you have to do is tag it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Contextual commerce is something that's really, it's a big trend that we're looking at seriously, and it gives you the opportunity to just buy within context, whether you're currently reading something, you like it, like on Instagram. I have a question on of the actual onboarding process. So is this more of a push product where you have like partners that are trying to push product, or is this more of a pull from the consumer? And then 2, like how do you handle the fulfillment of the actual products?
Yes, so we purposely did not want to be a fulfillment or a processing company like Amazon. We were very aware of how sensitive that information and how big privacy issues are. So what we did is instead we became affiliates of retailers like Target, Amazon, Jet.com, and especially at a time when retail and advertising sales continue to drop because of the competitive landscape in social media, it created a perfect digital opportunity for retailers to say, hey, we have all of this merchandise available. We already advertise with a lot of the TV networks that exist. why not use Tagit as an additional platform to sell more merchandise? So it becomes both. The consumers want the product that they see on TV. Nobody likes ads, but everybody likes to buy things. And being able to have our retail partners fulfill those orders, handle that very sensitive information since they're already good at it. All we are is the bridge in between the retailers and the media companies.
When you say anything you see on TV, are you talking about me watching a show wanting to buy the dress someone's wearing, or is this a commercial? So, and are you an add-on to product placement, to a product placement sale?
Yeah, so it started with product placement. I'm a shoe enthusiast, and I wanted to buy every cute pair of shoes that was on TV. But it wasn't just shoes, right? It was clothing, accessories. It morphed into furniture and accessories as well. So it created an opportunity for us to say, just about anything can be commercialized if you capitalize on the impulse of the shopper. And really, if 87% of American TV viewers have a mobile device within reach, why not ping them as they're watching the show, very much like Shazam does with music? And instead of generating information about that song, where then you can go into a store and buy the song, being able to go into a retail store and buy the item that you're watching on TV.
Can you give us just a quick overview of the KPIs, like how many users, revenue, sales?
Yeah, so we started out as a consumer-facing app, and we quickly realized that with the most recent statistic, not only less than 2% of women who actually went after VC capital were able to obtain it. So as we worked with some of our investors who are wealthy individuals here in the San Diego community, some of my former clients, they said, we don't want to pay for you to bring in people. So that's when we decided to partner with TV networks to say, we can monetize your content.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anna. Great job. Thank you. Now we have Leo from Ncast. All right, welcome him.
And so Ncast is revolutionarying personal connection, workplace culture, and brand through social impact. And this is me and my family. I'm the oldest of four. My dad is a Texas Teacher of the Year from 1993. And we built our whole family based on really strong Latino values. But of course, that value created a culture for our family. And a lot of what I learned through my family has worked its way through everything I do, including what I do today at Ncast. So one of the huge problems today, and every single one of you that has a business or works in a business knows this problem. Millennials are not finding purpose in the workforce. And so what does that mean? It costs American businesses $30 billion a year to replace and retrain millennials. And 83% of millennials switch jobs every 18 and 24 months. And when you think about it, half of the workforce in America is millennial. So it's something that has to be addressed. And our values shape who we are and the things that matter to us. And those values are in this constant struggle to find connection with each other, in our neighborhoods, in our churches, and in particular, in the workplace. So when millennials and any of us are looking for a new job, we want to find a place where we connect. Not just where our skills connect well, but where our values and the company's values connect as well. Because we're not just working for a paycheck, we're working for a higher purpose. Seth Godin, award-winning author, wrote this wonderful book called The Purple Cow. And it basically describes this phenomenon of wanting to stick out. If you are in a sea of cows, that purple cow is the one that sticks out. To be remarkable in business today, you have to be the purple cow. And to be the purple cow, you don't just pay people more to keep them around. You don't just pay people more to have them work for you. You focus on culture. You focus on exemplifying your values and finding alignment with those people that work for you. So what we do at Ncast is help people fit in where they work through social impact. So we empower employees to give to their favorite causes, volunteer. We use artificial intelligence and blockchain to align people with things that they care about and with others that in their company that might align with them. Their opportunity is huge. There's $100 million in revenue facing us within the next 5 years at a 90% profit margin. And we're playing in 4 big markets worth over $400 billion. We are growing fast. Companies like CBRE and C3 are among our clients and prospects. And the opportunity is we're raising $500,000. Our lead investor was Brian Acton, who co-founded WhatsApp. So we're looking for another $500,000 in a convertible note. And my grandfather is a huge inspiration for me, and I want to close with that because he changed my life and got me where I am today. Thank you.
All right. Great job.
Leo, how does this differ from the Pledgeling platform?
So Pledgeling and very similar platforms are really focused on, I would say, a functional mindset, meaning we want to raise money, we want to get people to volunteer, and that's what we do, and we're going to look at all the competitors, and that's all that they do as well, so they're trying to leapfrog each other. We have a very different mindset. So our mindset is we are here to connect people to each other and to help people find purpose everywhere they are. So that mindset fundamentally shifts the types of features that we employ, the types of partnerships that we take on, our scaling strategy. A lot of them sell direct, and we don't. We have a scaling strategy that is centered around partnerships. So the big difference is really about mindset. And I think that if you think of the search engine wars, Google won because they had a different mindset. Facebook won because they had a different mindset. We're going to revolutionize the space because our mindset is fundamentally different than the rest.
So, I understand the mindset position. Now, if you're about helping people find purpose, I could be a customer, right? Maybe I'm still looking to find my purpose. But you picked employers as your segment, maybe as your go-to-market segment, and that'll change. But why? And then you kind of glossed over growth. You said we're growing a lot, or we're growing like crazy, but we don't really understand how.
Right.
So talk about why you picked employers, given that you can help anyone find purpose.
Right.
And then describe that growth.
So we picked employers because there are 208 million Americans working today, and that represents over 70% of the American population. And so we felt that the employer, and we spend most of our time at work. So I fundamentally want people to enjoy where they work. I want them to feel like they're making an impact in their job and in the impact that their company has on the world. So employers was just an enormous population of potential users. And that's why we ended up choosing them. You're right that we can apply our technology into retail, financial services, education, and other places. And with regards to, we're growing fast. We've been in discussions and have a couple of small clients right now, but we're talking to some enterprises like CBRE, which is the largest commercial real estate company on the planet, to not only empower their staff, but their clients in transforming their culture so they can have more successful businesses and therefore grow their footprint as a business. So they're really thinking about things differently, and I think partnering with us will allow them to do that.
In 15 seconds, what are your success metrics for these customers?
It's about engagement, it's about productivity, it's about retention and reducing that retention, and of course, connecting it all to profitability. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to buy us without that connection.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome, Leo. So we're going to go to our 5th rising star, but also just to give you a little bit, how many in here are founders, but raising your hand. Who's a founder here? Founder of a tech startup. Okay, cool. Who wants to be a founder at some point? Raise your hand. Cool. And the reason why you're here, what you just saw, the first rising stars, they're raising around $1 million or $2 million, and they have raised probably a couple of $100,000 as of now. This is a journey that probably takes somewhere between 5 to 10 years to get to $100 million in revenue, and that's what they're going for to become a $1 billion company. So just give you a little bit of background. Okay, cool. So now we have Tony from Chipper.
So this is the house I grew up in a small town in West Texas. Anybody ever been to Pecos? I was the first in my family to graduate from high school, the first to go to college. And I had to pretty much finance every penny to go to school. And I came out of school with over $100,000 in student loan debt. My payments were over $1,200 per month. And so this American dream that I pursued felt like a nightmare. And so I saw there was no solutions, so I wanted to do something about it. So in 2013, I launched the first ever student loan benefit to allow companies to pay down student loan debt for their employees. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that I've done for SLG. I am proud to say 5% of all companies in the country now offer a student loan benefit, which we invented. But that means 95% of people in the country still don't have a solution when it comes to their student loans. I launched SLG in 2013. We're at $1 trillion in debt. We're now approaching $1.7 trillion. It's affecting 44 million Americans, and almost 75% of all college students are going to walk away with debt. And it's getting worse. Student debt is growing at $2,600 per second. That's $230 million per day. But here's the real problem. Not only do we come out with a ton of debt, we come out with a very complex situation, the one that I faced, where you have on average 12 loans, you're paying 2 or 3 different servicers, and there's over 150 different repayment programs that exist. And so it's very difficult for us to understand which programs we're eligible for. And here's a crazy stat. 38% of all Latino millennials and Gen Zers will have student loan debt. Of the entire population of our generations, that's how many are going to come out of school with debt. So at Chipper, we're building the only student loan app you'll ever need. We help people better understand their loans, manage them, and pay all in one place. First thing we do is help people get into the smartest program. So you link your loans, and our algorithm determines which repayment programs you're eligible for, and we put you in that plan. Next, you can pay directly through our app. So you never have to deal with Sally Mae, Navient, or anybody again. All of it is one place. And lastly, we help you chip away debt faster without even thinking about it. So we have a feature called roundups. So you link your cards, and every time you buy something, we round up that transaction and send the change off to your student loans. Chipper Pool, send a link out to grandma and grandpa. They can chip in towards your student loan debt. And I'm proud to announce this month, we got a banking partnership to launch the first ever payback card, a debit card that allows you to swipe. Every time you swipe, you get 1 to 2% back towards your student loan debt, plus partner with 2,000 brands that'll contribute 2 to 10% towards your student loan. We launched a year ago. We're approaching $250 million in student loans managed. And the best part is the impact. Just by using our card and the roundups, we're going to save the average person over $12,000 in 6.5 years on repayment. Let's skip ahead real quick. We raised $1 million last summer from incredible investors led by FJ Labs, Fabrice Grinda, Forbes #1 investor in the world, 500 startups, founders of SoFi, Dosh. We're raising at $1.5 million now. That's led by 37 angels, a women-led angel group out of New York City. And Manolo Sanchez, the BBVA CEO and chairman, just invested as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. Great job.
Can you talk a little bit more about your KPIs, your customer base, how you're signing them up, your revenue, how much they're paying?
Yeah. So currently, the only features we have are the chipping features, right? So where it helps you chip away on top of your minimum payments. That's a subscription model where a user pays $2 per month. So we have about 7,000 of those active users, paying that service. But what we learned is that we had over 40,000 people come into our app, and we're like, why aren't you connecting your stuff? Like, what's going on? And we literally had 900 chat interactions with our users, and we found that they're like, I want to pay off faster, but I want to know if I qualify for consolidation or refinancing or forgiveness. I don't want to just start throwing money. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And so they started using our chat bot as a management solution. And so that's where the light bulb went off. It's like, well, why don't we provide that solution, get people in the funnel, and then we can push them to the premium products. When the debit card is launched, we'll make money off the interchange of the debit card swiping, plus the referrals from the brands and partnerships on the refinancing side.
Okay, great.
It's a very big market, some very big competitors. Well, how do you differentiate yourself with SoFi or Upstart?
Yeah, so those are actually partners of ours. So SoFi only does refinancing, and actually one of our first investors was a founder of SoFi. So SoFi is a partner in a way that only about 4% of all people with student loans qualify for refinancing, right? And so, it's a very, very small market. We're able to provide a solution that goes to everybody, and then we can find the premium borrowers and shoot them over to SoFi, Common Bond, whoever else, and we get a referral fee for everybody that ends up converting. But they can still manage their loans within our app. So, even though you have loans at SoFi, you can still work with us.
So then the monetization is the user gives you the monthly fee, but you also get a referral fee every time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for the non-premium users, is that capital coming from you versus referring them to other programs? Are you acting as a bank in that you pay off their loan and assume the debt?
Well, so we're going to have some users who are just going to come in and manage their loans, so we're not receiving any revenue for them. Like from them, that's almost like a freemium model where we're just grabbing them for customer acquisition purposes and then trying to convert them to the other products. Okay. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I don't even know. Yeah, let's say yes.
Okay.
You have an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us what the biggest learning was from Student Loan Genius to launching.
I can't do it in 40 seconds. Like, we'd be here for like 2 hours. The first thing is just like running an organization, like running a business. We scaled to about 30 employees at Student Loan Genius, and so just learning how to structure like a company from the ground up with the right employees. So hiring, staying focused. Like, there's so many things that you can be doing as a startup, so staying focused on the right things, focusing on the right metrics, focusing on the right products. And then I think the most important thing is I didn't use my advisors, I didn't use my investors, I didn't use the people around me to help us make better strategic decisions. And so that's the first thing that I've done with SLG, surround ourselves with the right people and, you know, like utilize those skills and that experience.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'll take your clicker. How exciting, right? I mean, we have 5 great startups that have just pitched. Let's give them a hand. This is not easy. And they're trying to solve very, very large, complex problems, from head injuries to purchases to financial management to doing things that are good for our employers and for our own well-being and student loan. Padrinas? Padrino? What do you think?
I loved hearing the stories, right? It's that story of here's everything that brought me to where I am and why I care about the things I care about. So I think them sharing that level of grit was really exciting. And then hearing people who, you know, started a business and then had to really pivot it or even start a brand new business with incredible learning.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how, you know, everyone kind of, whether you're in venture or not, you get to see the presentations and you get to see the storytelling, and it could be a really great business, but they presented it in a really kind of off way, or it could be an okay business, but they presented it in a really great way. So that's what we see all day long. Yep. And we saw some really good presentations today, but also the way they answered questions, right? It's not just about answering the exact question, but it's answering around that. So you just heard the last CEO say, you know, these are the metrics, but guess what? We learned from that, and we actually decided to run another business model because we learned from our customers. That's really what we're looking for, as opposed to just the straight answer.
That's great.
I know, I love the stories. The fact that they were able to put so much information in 3 minutes, and again, 3 Q&A sessions, that was incredible. I got every single company story, and I definitely have some further questions for each of them, and maybe try to make some matchmaking there. But definitely like, you know, a few of these more than others, but they did a great job.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, to bring us into the matchup, it's very important to also share those stories, because it's not just about capital. Sometimes there's more that's needed beyond that. So now we look forward to our main stage.
Yes, so to give a little bit of context again, what we just saw were early stage, they're raising checks up to $1 million. These are Series A companies. They're looking to raise somewhere between 5-15 million, second round of funding. And so let's get started with Addis Materials. David Arriaga, go ahead.
This room is pretty big, actually. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm actually proud to be part of the first Latitude matchup. I'm proud to be part of history. So today I want to talk to you, share the story of Addis Materials, who we are and what are we doing, how are we planning in transforming the electronics materials industry, something that has been the same way for the past 100 years, and we're really trying to change the way that materials are discovered nowadays. So let me get started with first slide and tell you what exactly we do. We create innovative polymer materials. So we take essentially chemicals and we create new materials that didn't exist before. And we do so to enable the next generation of transformational technologies, from foldable, flexible displays, new camera sensors, soft robotics, and even 5G antennas. All of these new technologies that's really going to change the way things happen today need new materials, because they're pushing the limits of each of their fields, and they need new materials to really enable those products to get to the customer. So that is the challenge that we're taking on. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself and the team. I don't have a picture of my house, but I do have a picture of us in the lab, because that's where we passed a lot of our time when we were doing our PhD back at the University of Texas in Dallas. One thing I want you to notice is we are really passionate about taking research and development that happen in the academic settings into a commercial product. We are, half of the company is first-generation immigrants. So we left our countries to come to the US to really have the opportunity to do what we wouldn't be able to do back home, which is have access to a world-class research facility that allows to really take very challenging problems and create solutions for those problems. So as I was saying, we're first-generation immigrants, half of the company. The other half of the company happens to be female engineers. We all have advanced degrees, and we're really proud to be working on what we're doing today. So maybe you saw this picture. Perhaps you saw the announcement from Samsung. They launched, again, the Galaxy Fold phone. If you saw it, it's a foldable display. Now, it's a state-of-the-art. It's really showcasing what is possible with flexible displays, what is possible with polymer technology to do, and it's enabling a whole set of new applications that we're gonna see coming up year after year. Now, the problem is, even though they relaunched it, because the first one was kind of a failure, they still have problems. And those problems live and reside and are directly related to the material selection. It's not that they don't want to fix the problem. It's not that they're not looking for solutions. The problem is some of those materials do not exist. That's why what we're doing is so relevant, because even giants like Samsung still need to fix problems like this, and we hope we can be the next replacement of that material. And we're on our path to do that. But replacing the Gorilla Glass is not the only issue that they're going to have. It's not the only problem that they're going to have to solve. There is many other layers in a display that really need to be reconsidered. I got 2 more minutes? Okay.
Q&A.
All right, give it a hand. Thank you.
That was fun.
I can answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry. The timer
yes.
stopped at 3, and we have 5 minutes for these presentations. You're correct.
Go for it.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Can we go back to the
I'm
presentation?
sorry, gentlemen. We have 3 minutes per presentation, and that's what we had for each of the contestants before this contestant, so we must move into the interview round. Please begin.
Take a minute to finish up, and we'll cut the Q&A by 2.
Yeah,
Sure.
All right, thank you. So one of the things why we think we're going to win this battle of material innovations is because we do science differently. We don't have the luxury of doing things the same old way. We use machine learning and artificial intelligence to enable autonomous discovery of materials. That is the thing that makes us different, because we use cutting-edge technology to really get ahead of the competition and really automate the discovery of new materials. That is exactly what makes us different, what really is going to help us win the battle. And let me just jump quickly to the last slide, which is why are we raising money? Is because we're building an autonomous system to essentially do data generation perpetually so that we can feed our artificial intelligence system and discover new formulation spaces that nobody has explored before, because it's so cost-intensive and so time-consuming, so that if we can have a 24/7, 365 days a year generating data, now we can explore and play with so many more chemicals and get so many more materials properties that nobody else has been able to really play with. So with that, I'll close.
Thank you.
So who are your biggest manufacturing partners?
Say that again?
Biggest manufacturing partners?
Yeah, so in one of the slides I didn't get to talk about it. We do have one example. We have a license agreement, 10 years license agreement with a company called Nippon Kayaku in Japan. We have another agreement with Hitachi Chemical. We're together developing an adhesive material for flexible displays that is tackling a $2 billion market itself. In and of itself, that product is that. So we generate formulations, and we partner with massive companies who can really produce this at mass scale.
And what would your profit margin be?
Well,
More or
it's
less.
a very profitable market. So we're talking about 80 to 90% is the margin on those materials.
Really? That's great.
You're automating your R&D process.
Exactly.
Which is very different from what she just asked about, right? The manufacturing line. Make us feel better. Reassure us about why this autonomous R&D process works. So what other industry has used this, or what other application is currently using AI and machine learning?
Pharmaceutical industry has been using this for longer than the material science industry has. So that is they were one of the pioneers in using machine learning for new formulation discovery. And now you need to apply it to material science, which in and of itself has its own particular challenges. But hey, I have a bachelor's in mechatronics and a PhD in material science, so it's kind of in my sweet spot.
talk about the rest of the team because you didn't get to talk to.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk to them. One of my co-founders is here. We are, as I said, 3 co-founders, all first-generation immigrants, 2 from Mexico, 1 from Romania. And then the rest of the team is top talent. We actually tap into the top talent that is available in female engineers that so many times gets overlooked by the big companies. So we've been tremendously lucky to get great engineers in our team that are from everywhere, actually. So now we have like a 40% split between Hispanic and all over the world.
Yeah, go for it.
The application, so I think what I sensed was the phone case, or maybe I didn't, but what are the different applications that you have for this product?
So as I mentioned, the Galaxy Fold, the fact that you can fold your display into half or expand it from a roll and make a engineering view for planes and things like that. But there is also camera sensors that require new materials. There is also soft robotics and 5G antennas. That's one of the most attractive applications right now.
Okay.
Right. We've been talking for quite some time now, but I'd love to see how has the sales cycle evolved over the last year?
Well, it's actually been quite interesting. In the past 12 months, as I said, we signed our first licensing agreement with Nippon Kayaku, so that's a 10-year deal that is going to be fantastic, and it is great working with them. And then now we have another contract to co-develop with Hitachi Chemical. So we are now speeding up in our development, and those partnerships is what's going to allow us to get into the big players like the Samsungs, the LGDs, the BOEs of the world.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Great job. Now, we're going to welcome Roberto from Recruitology. All right, give it a hand. All right, go for it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Roberto Angulo, and it's an honor to be here on stage to talk to you about Recruitology. What we do is we're an AI-based platform that helps small and medium businesses find the right hires. I'll give you a quick snapshot. The service is generating about $12 million in revenue right now annually. We work with about 400 reseller partners, and we have about 160 employers that we've served since we started the service. Before I go further on Recruitology, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in the northern state of Sonora in Mexico. I grew up in a city called Nogales, which is on the border. People usually don't know Nogales, and I tell them it's like Tijuana, but not as nice. Then I came to the US to go to school. So my plan was to go to high school here and then go back to Mexico. I ended up being fortunate enough to go to Stanford, and I got a scholarship and was able to go to Stanford. And then I graduated and I worked for a couple of years for a tech company called BBN, which is the company actually that invented the internet, email, and the modem. So I learned a lot there. And then I left that job. I had the itch to start my first business, so I started a company called After College, which is a marketplace that connects college students with jobs and internships based on their field of study. And that's where I started sort of dabbling with AI and artificial intelligence. And along the way, partnered with the White House in an initiative called US 2020. So we co-founded a nonprofit to help disadvantaged youth get into science, engineering, and sciences. Also wrote a book. I wrote the book on getting your first job. It's one of the Dummies series books. And what I'm excited about today is to actually talk to you about Recruitology and what we do. So we're tackling this huge opportunity. There's roughly 30 million small businesses in the US alone that make up most of the businesses in the country. And at some point in time, they need to hire. And it's going to take them an average of 40 days to find a hire, not necessarily the right one. And it could end up costing them about $4,000 per hire. And it's an $8 billion a year market, immediate market opportunity that we're tackling. And the issue that employers have is that there's so many great options out there. You can go post on Craigslist, you can go to Indeed, you can go to ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, et cetera. The question is, where do you post? If you're looking for an accountant, maybe you go on LinkedIn, maybe you go on Indeed. If you're looking for a technician, maybe you go on Craigslist, maybe you go to your local college site. So what we do is we've developed technology that helps take the thinking out of the process or the decision-making out of the employer's hands, and we automatically help route the posting to the right job site. So we're a one-stop solution where the employer is posting once and the job's automatically going to go where it needs to go for the right price, for the right amount of time on the right sites. And we're working with about 200 different job sites and publisher partners that are accepting our job postings. And we're also ingesting resumes to do candidate matching for employers on the fly. And we're using machine learning, natural language processing. We do this all behind the scenes, similar technology to what you see in your Google Home device and your Alexa device. And the results we're generating are actually pretty good. So on average, if you post a job on a job site, you're going to end up getting 20 clicks on average per job and maybe 6 applications. And then with Recruitology, one of our posting products, you post once, and you'll end up getting about 263 clicks on average and 22 applications. And we have very happy clients. So we work through Reseller Partners, and this is an agency actually that works in Southern California. They use the product to help an employer hire 13 candidates at $11 each, and that's really good return on investment for them. And we had a lot of these stories. The team, we're based in San Francisco, but we're distributed throughout the U.S. and in Vancouver. And I'm also looking at opening up shop in Mexico potentially. But we're a team of just over 40 individuals working on solving this issue of connecting employers with the right candidates. I mentioned traction. We started the service in 2016, and since then we've served over 160,000 employers and growing. Revenue-wise, we started the service and it generated $6.5 million the first year in revenue, profitable, and we're almost double that at $12 million this year and growing. In terms of investment, we've raised just over $2.5 million, or actually just under $2.5 million for the business, and we're looking to do an additional round of about $5 million to expand our sales and marketing, just to take the service to more employers and to grow additional channels. And the next step, right now we have pretty good traction, but we don't really have significant market share, and we're doing pretty well. So if we get to 5% market share, we can potentially get to $120 million or more in revenue. So that's the next step for us, and that's the horizon, sort of the short-term goal for us. And with that, I thank you. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
All right. I commend you on your traction. Can you explain a little bit more how your model differs from that of Talent Sky?
From what again, sorry?
Talent Sky?
I don't know if I've heard of them.
You have not heard of Talent Sky?
No,
okay.
But what do they do?
Similar to what you do.
All right.
I just want to know
so
what
I think with us, I haven't found a service that fully sort of has like the breadth of publishers that we have. And I think the differentiator is everyone can do AI, right? So you can download the algorithms. I think with us, the unique differentiator is the data we have. So we have about 12 years worth of data, job posting data and candidate data that feeds the matching. So that is always sort of the unique secret sauce in any endeavor that involves AI and matching. So algorithms are probably similar from different companies, but the data is what sets us apart.
So,
great traction, by the way.
Is the value proposition here the aggregation that you give small businesses, or the actual targeting?
It's actually the aggregation. So the fact that the employer doesn't have to go to different places to post, and actually didn't do a good job at mentioning that, but if you're a small business, you could end up paying hundreds or thousands of dollars to get your job on all these different sites and not necessarily get the right candidate, right? So with us, you post once and it automatically figures out where the job's gonna do well, on what job site, or on what platform, whether it's like LinkedIn or Facebook, et cetera. And the employer only has to pay once and not even think about it. So it's more of a set it and forget it. And that's the value prop, one-stop shop, where you go once, pay once, and not worry about where to post or how much to pay.
So you're triaging. The employers are coming to you and you're figuring out what service to refer them to.
Exactly.
So you don't have postings on your site.
No, because that's right. We're not a two-sided marketplace, so we're not a job board, and we make a point to say that we're not a job board, because job boards will come and go, right?
How do you collect data on the talent side then, if you don't own that engagement?
Because we're redirecting the candidates from the job board source to the employer, and we're tracking every single interaction, so we know what type of candidate clicked over to the employer site. And then over half of the employers in our system don't have an applicant tracking system, and we're providing that, so we're able to actually host that data and have better visibility into what types of candidates are applying for the job, right? And that informs the machine for the next iteration. Okay, this job did well here, I'm going to send it here, and then I'm going to try these other places as well. So we're actually collecting a lot of data, and when we're hosting the applicant for the employer, that actually gives us even more feedback to make the matches even better.
Can you talk about the reseller partnerships? I know you said you have 400. What does that mean in terms of selling to them and how they sell to your end clients?
In terms of the reseller partners?
Right.
So reseller partners are media companies and agencies. So I mentioned Ad Taxi, which is a nationwide ad agency. So they're selling programmatic, they're selling billboard advertising to different types of clients. And they're using Recruitology as their recruiting platform. So when somebody says, hey, I need to make if I'm a casino in Southern California, I need to hire hundreds of people for this new wing that I'm opening. They'll get the budget from this casino, and they'll get all the jobs. We actually even go to the employer's website and ingest all the jobs, and then we automatically distribute the jobs, right? So we're serving as sort of the white label provider for the agency to do what they do with their own clients. And then also here in San Diego Union Tribune, if you actually go to their classified section and you post a job, you can actually post a job through them directly online. And behind the scenes, that job's actually going through us to all these different platforms, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Google for Jobs, Career Builder, and we're, so it's a land grab of basically reseller partners, but also publishers to which we can distribute all these jobs.
Help us understand your customer a little bit more. So small business is very diverse. Where are you focusing your efforts? Particular industries or?
So we're pretty agnostic. In terms of the customers, like it's typically, they tend to be small, medium businesses that really don't know.
Like 1 to 100 employees, or what's the?
I would say like 500 employees or smaller, maybe even smaller. And they're restaurants, they're healthcare systems, they're hospitals, they're mechanic shops, sort of trades, right? And sometimes they need an electrician, sometimes they need certified nursing assistants, transportation companies that need truck drivers. So we get a pretty sort of broad spectrum of jobs, but they tend to be sort of skilled, hourly, vocational, which make up the majority of the jobs in the U.S. Retail,
You're not
food
necessarily,
service.
are you selling into like an HR person, or is this like do-yourself?
It's typically, so the resellers do sell to HR, so it's selling to the HR person, and in a lot of cases, these small businesses, they don't have HR, so it's typically the office manager, or it's somebody that just got tasked with doing this. And we're in a unique spot because of the reseller channel. We're able to reach these sort of, I call them sort of these last mile employers that really a lot of the big guys aren't serving. So everyone's building HR tools for sort of the enterprise, and we've made it very sort of easy to use for small employers that are in touch with our reseller partners already, local media companies that reach the local employers.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Roberto.
Thank you.
Now,
thanks everyone.
Awesome job. Now we're going to introduce Sergio from Yay-Do. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sergio. I am co-founder and CEO of Yay-Do. And Yay-Do is a procurement automation platform that helps companies get better spend control and visibility all over their business purchasing. And I'm here to share with you the story of how in 3 years of operations, we've been able to work with a team of Latinos to work with more than 180 companies in 5 countries and making more than $1 million in annual revenues. And well, how all of this started? This started because my co-founders, Roberto and Guillermo, as well as me, we tried in the past, as many Latino entrepreneurs, to start our own company. And after a lot of effort, we failed. And we tried to understand why this failure happened. If you think about it, most of the times people blame it on the lack of sales, on the lack of access to capital. But there is a problem that is mostly and is often overlooked, which is all the waste in the processes that we have inside our own companies. Actually, procurement inefficiencies cost mid-sized companies more than $100 billion each year, and we wanted to understand why this is happening. We realized that there are 3 main issues that cause these procurement inefficiencies. The first of all is that there is a lack of a specialized talent or people that know how to actually implement a procurement process. And even if you're able to get that part right, the tools that help you implement it are usually focusing only on enterprise type of customers, which are very expensive for mid-sized companies, and therefore very, very difficult to actually be able to afford them. And if you get the talent and the tools, even if you get that part right, mid-sized companies don't have the negotiation power. They don't have the volume to actually do all the negotiations and all the different savings that large enterprise have. Looking at this issue and this situation, we decided to build a product and launch it to the market that solved this issue. We decided to launch Yay-Do. Yay-Do is a procurement automation platform that combines a procurement software with a group buying that is basically using artificial intelligence to do pre-negotiated agreements with more than 60,000 products and services that go from office and janitorial supplies to cloud services, software, computing equipment, electronics, everything that you need to run your business every day. All of these centralized and integrated into a procurement tool that is focusing on the mid-market. We realized that by offering these benefits to the mid-sized companies, we're able to generate 15% reduction of cost of purchased goods and 80% decrease in all the different activities of negotiation, purchase requests and approvals, budget management, and accounts payable. The main difference that we have with other companies is that, as we mentioned, like most of the companies that are providing software in the market are focusing on the enterprise market, and they are designed to leverage all the volume and of purchasing that these large companies have, and the specialized talent that these companies can have. But the beauty of JDO is that you don't actually have to know about procurement to be a rock star in procurement and to actually implement it in a right way for your growing company. We know this works because we have consistent traction, growing at more than 30% quarter over quarter, and we're projecting $1.2 million in revenues for annual recurring subscriptions. All of these have been achieved with only $800,000 in investment. And right now, we know that this is just the beginning, because if we are able to continue this path of growth, we're going to be able to become a company that has more than $100 million in all revenues, reaching 12,000 new customers with an annual contract value of around $9,000 each. The next step is to get the 1,800 new companies that will get us to $12 million by the end of 2021. And this will be achieved basically by combining the current consistent organic growth that we have, which will take us to around 600 new companies, and adding other paid acquisition channels that will get us to 1,400 new customers to get in total of approximately 2,000 new companies. We know how to execute this plan, and that's why we're currently partnering with venture capitalists that are going to help us to get to the next stage. We're planning to invest 70% of the funds of this round to more customer acquisition and to continue going forward, and around 30% to develop more features and integrations with other kind of tools like ERPs and accounting systems that in the end are going to help us increase and scale the actual product distribution. To execute this, we have a great team that combines experience in technology, marketing, procurement, logistics, that has worked for some of the best companies in the world, in the US, LATAM, and Europe. And we have a proven ability to get a team together of talent that is able to change the world and change how we make business commerce. Thank you.
You have the kind of company name that you just want to repeat. I just want to say, JDO.
JDO. Actually, like what we tried to like with this picture, if you put it back, is like everyone yelling JDO, and yeah, like JDO is basically the pleasure of doing things, the combination of J and do. That's
I love it.
That's good.
Give us an example of the types of products that these small, medium-sized businesses are buying.
So the three main
and is there a minimum spend amount that gives them ROI on your platform?
That's what makes this network very beautiful, that in the end you don't need to buy a big amount. You can just buy, for example, a pen, and then you basically get it. So if you want to try it, just go create an account, and then you will see how it works. And yeah, the three main categories that we have is office products, like office supplies, the different like technology equipment, laptops, and electronics that you have. We also have right now negotiations with SaaS vendors, so a lot of different tools that in the end are going to help the companies be more productive, so to get more software in the right, at the right price for everyone.
And was there a third?
Excuse
You said
me?
office, SaaS. Was there a third category?
Yeah, so office supplies, janitorial and technology equipment, and we're getting the SaaS vendors in place right now.
So it seems like you have a ton of traction. Congrats on all the traction so far. I'm curious to see why customers say no to you, and if you've lost any customers, why you lost them.
Can you repeat the first part? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Your customers, why they say no to you.
Okay, yeah.
As opposed to yes.
Yeah, actually, like the main reason why they say no is because like they believe that right now, let's say to pay a subscription to be part of the, let's say, of the network, they don't have like this like large spend amount to be actually able to benefit from the software tool, and so usually it will be a company that has more than 30 employees that is already above $1 million in all revenues that is like actually benefiting. If they are like less than that, then they don't actually need right now like a tool like this, but they will need soon also to.
That's great that you've realized that, so you can then focus your sales efforts on.
That's the sweet spot, like
Right.
when you're like more than 30 employees and $1 million in revenue.
Yep, great.
I'm an investor, so I'll give you an easy one. We talked a lot about expansion. What's your latest thinking on, where do you go, further into Latin America or even the U.S.?
Yeah, we actually have a very important greenfield opportunity in the Latin market because actually, companies in Latam don't have actually, they're moving from an Excel spreadsheet and emails to actually do all of these approval workflows. We're seeing a lot of traffic right now. Actually, in January this year, we were at 6,000 visits per month. Right now, we're at 25,000 visits per month to the content that we're creating. So, and most of it is coming from the Spanish-speaking countries. We actually are, we know that by integrating more channels like accounting systems and ERPs focusing on SMBs and the mid-market, we're also going to be able to grow more in the US. So basically content for LATAM and channel integration for US. That's basically the current strategy for growth.
So in terms of your customer base, it sounds like it's mostly in Latin America right now and you want to expand to the US. Can you talk about the differences, obviously beyond language and culture, why the differences in selling and how your customers interact with your product in Latin America versus the US?
Yeah, so actually in LATAM, basically there's a lack of options in terms of SaaS. There is just a new wave of tools that is just being deployed there. And I think that's why it's easier to convert customers in that market. Here, there is already companies that have been doing procurement software, but they don't have all these automated negotiation or the part of doing one-click approvals through all the whole workflow. So they actually need to have a procurement team. So in the end, of course, if a company already has a procurement team, already has a software, then in the end, they will not be looking for a solution like this. But companies that are just getting started to look and they compare the value proposition, they will see this is 10 times better because I don't need to actually hire a lot of people for the procurement. And the negotiation is done with the buying power that we have.
How many data scientists do you currently have?
I'm sorry?
How many data scientists do you have?
So right now we have two. Actually, the product development team that we have is based in Mexico City, which is super capital efficient. And actually, we have a very unfair advantage because our CTO used to work for one of the largest nearshoring companies in the world. Actually, one is the largest in Mexico, Softec. And he was head of software architecture there. So he knows a lot of people that are right now trying to move into work to startups. So we know that that's for us the way to continue working. But yeah, and these are also people from Latino origin that have been studying at some of the best universities in the world. One of them actually came from Oxford, so it's very interesting to see how how we can get more talent from Latinos.
Great. All right, thank you very much, Heidi. Now we're gonna have our last presenter, Will, from Bedrock Analytics. Give it up.
Hi everyone, I'm Will Salcido, CEO and co-founder of Bedrock Analytics. Bedrock is a SaaS data visualization platform that analyzes retail data for CPG brands. We're Oakland-based. I raised about $7.2 million exactly as a seed round about 2 years ago. And today we're raising $10 million as a Series A. So before we get into Bedrock, a little bit about me. And this is really what you would find on LinkedIn. So all this is on there. What you won't find on LinkedIn is that I started 4 businesses before I went to college. 3 of them were successful. 1 was an epic failure, so I learned from that. I was born in East LA. I then moved to East LA, which is called San Bernardino. My career, I joined Nestle and then Novartis, Ghirardelli, Lindt. Lindt is where I figured out, and Lindt owns Ghirardelli, so they sent me on an international project. I figured out that there was an issue where all these companies buy a lot of data, but they really don't know what to do with it. And I figured this out in Sweden. They had an aging workforce there, and the older generation had a hard time with interpreting data. So I ended up simplifying what I was building for them, which was a BI tool. And then I left, and I started Bedrock. And we've done quite well lately. So the problem, and the real problem, I'll show you here. To get this, this gum onto a retail shelf is a complex process. You have to communicate with the retail buyer. You have to go pitch them about 4 times a year. And you have to convince them that this product belongs on that shelf. It's a long process. It takes a lot of data to prove that those 3 inches of space, which are worth about $300,000, are worth investing on this one SKU. In reality, there's also a shortage of analysts in the industry. Analysts are joining tech companies, unfortunately, good for us, but for the CPG industry, it's no longer sexy to join Kraft after college. You're joining Salesforce and other places. Also, salespeople, like I mentioned, there's an inability to be able to dissect data because you're a salesperson. You didn't go to an analyst, you aren't an analyst. So this industry is struggling with this, and we just happen to be there at the right time. So the original thesis of Bedrock was that we were going to help salespeople understand their data and tell stories from it. What's happened over time, and we've seen this, customers are using us as the operating system for their companies, doing things beyond what we expected because that data is so useful, especially when it's in a very useful format. The software looks like this. The software can put together an entire presentation for a salesperson in about 4 seconds. It used to take me, and I was very good at that job, about 4 days to put together a really good deck. And the software pulls out the insights that matter, puts it in English, puts it all in PowerPoint, tells you what to say, and it's incredible what we've been able to do. This industry is massive. When you look at these hexagons, they're actually food categories that you would find at Target or Walmart. There's about 350 of them. I'm going to zoom into one, which is, let me see if it gets there, olives. All right, so canned olives. Not the most sexy of categories, but when I go into it, there are 365 olive brands. We have 3 of those companies as customers. Those 3 companies combined pay us $30,000 a month out of olives. We still have a long way. We could build a business just on olives, and it would be a pretty big business. Some of our customers, you might know some of these brands. And we're over 50 customers, about 120 categories. We are now getting a lot of demand from international markets like Germany and Sweden. We're trying to figure out how to now structure the team to be able to handle that. The market. There are 35,000 CPGs, or consumer packaged goods companies, in the US alone. We have 50 of them. They spend $10 billion on data every year. They pay us from $2,000 to $24,000 a month each. It takes us about 3 months to close one of these deals, which is pretty quick for an enterprise deal. To get to $20 million in ARR, it would take us about 200 customers, which is very achievable. So in terms of our performance, average contract value, annual contract value is $40,000 a year. In January 1st of this year, we were selling $1 million in annual recurring revenue, so $1 million a year. 6 months later, we're at $2 million, so we doubled. We're going to be tripling, so this year we'll be at $3 million at the end of the year. End of next year, $10 million in ARR. So we're on a trajectory. We have a team of experts. We have our SVP of engineering was the director of engineering at Amazon. Data scientist came from Pinterest. So we have a group of experts that are doing great things. Like I said, we raised money in the past. We're raising money again. And we will reach $100 million in revenue. So join us. Thank you.
Great trajectory. So on the CPG market, what is the underlying, I guess, value prop that you're bringing to your customers? Number one, and is this mostly? Do you have a direct sales force? Like how are you actually acquiring customers today?
What was the second part?
Are you acquiring customers through a direct sales force, or
yes,
is there
direct
distribution partnerships that you can?
Yeah, I'll talk. Sure. Yeah. So, this was not the plan. So how we're acquiring customers, we have a direct sales force. We have 6 people that are salespeople. We have 3 SDRs and 3 sales folks that reach out. They're specialized by category. So we have a person focused on center store, which is like olives and garlic, ketchup. We have someone on frozen and someone on dairy. And what we do is every 3 weeks they switch categories. So now someone's on kombucha and then on wine. And what happens, instead of doing account-based selling, we do category-based selling. So we know everything about kombucha. So our campaigns are all about kombucha. So when they receive these automated emails, we use things like Outreach and Salesforce and HubSpot to automate all this. It's all so relevant to them.
Okay.
Yep.
You talked about data analytics being really, really difficult for a large company like Kraft or P&G. Where are you getting talent, and why do you think they're attracted to helping support this business?
On the talent side for us?
On the talent side for you.
Yeah, sure. So one, we give equity, which is always important, right? Two, we have a really good culture at the company where, we rotate people around a lot. There's a lot of room to grow. We've hired folks, a lot of my sales folks are from Dannon, and we have someone from Kraft, from Annie's, a bunch of brands. And we found that combination of both having CPG experience, but also being really driven and aggressive at wanting to hit goals is important. Sometimes we've hired people in the past that come from that industry and they can't keep up with our speeds because we're just moving so quickly. We're a startup, and that's been a learning, I say, on my end, to trying to find the right folks that can kind of keep up.
Can you talk about your competitive landscape a little bit, and as you're selling, if somebody else is using your competitor, how you sell against that?
Yeah, our competitors are companies like Tableau, and other BI platforms. The difference is with those is that it requires a lot of technical ability to set them up. So you need, the fact that there's a consulting layer out there that implement Tableau shows you that it's too difficult for most people to use. Anytime you see anything like that, typically that's a big opportunity. So what we do is we simplify everything. There's no learning curve for us because our language is all in the for the CPG industry. So a salesperson, like I mentioned, right, in Sweden, that's aging workforce can see this, and they're already doing that work today. They just didn't know that software could do it for them. No interpretation needed.
How consolidated is the CPG market? I mean, are you talking like your top 10 controlling 80% of the market share?
Yeah, good question. So how consolidated is it? The top 10, there's a great slide that shows top 10 CPGs like Nestle, Kraft, Coca-Cola, those brands, right, Dannon. They own a ton of other brands. We actually don't target them. We target the up-and-coming emerging brand that wants to win. And there are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of them that will do anything to get 3 inches of shelf space.
Have you sized that market? Like if you take out the top 10, how big is this market?
Yeah, so there are 35,000 total CPGs. 80% of those buy data, so it's about 22,000 CPGs that could buy Bedrock. From there, we break it down by segments, and then we try to figure out whether, if there's an existing analytics team, there's friction. When you're being presented software that can do, let's say, a third of your job, like the fear of automation kicks in, especially at these big companies where you've had people that have worked there for a long time. So that's why we usually go in through sales, because they have an immediate need, and they might not be getting what they want from the analytics team. Over time, what we do is we augment the abilities of the analytics team so that the 10 people that you have doing that now can act like 50. And the company saves a lot of money.
Can you talk about a real-life example with one of the products that you signed up on how they used you to win shelf space?
Yeah. What was?
To win shelf space, or
yeah, a common use case for us is I have a meeting with Walmart, and I have a ton of competitors, and I sold my brand in because I had a great story. That's how I started. Now the buyer is asking me to prove that I deserve that shelf space that I've had for the past 6 months. And if you don't know how to tell that story, you will lose. That's the reason that you see the same 200 brands, whether you go to Walmart, Target, Safeway, Kroger, whatever it is. It's because those are the best storytellers. They figured out how to take data because they have hundreds of people like me. I was one of 150 analysts at Nestle. And if you can tell that story over and over again, you tend to win shelf space. The little guys, they might get distribution once, but they can't keep it up because they don't know how to speak that language.
Great. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
So now we've seen 4 later stage companies, very different areas, amazing Latino founders. Madrinas and Padrino, let's have a conversation of what you just saw. What do you want to do? Is anything piquing your interest?
For me, there's definitely a few. I did like Bedrock. The recruiting company as well, and Ares. For me, it's more about later stage companies. So actually, I like them all. I was actually going to pick my top 2, but they were all great companies, very impressive.
Wonderful.
We're going to have conversations.
On the early stage, I would say like Chipper is interesting. So I saw them 2 years ago, and they've made a lot of progress. I'd be obviously curious to see a little bit more on how they're acquiring customers, because that's big. But I really like them. And on the later stage side, I like Yedu and Bedrock. I thought they were pretty interesting.
Great. Would you say that Chipper's been chipping away at it for a while?
He's been chipping away at it for a while.
It's a great group, and I think what I would like to applaud all of them on is they're chasing big markets. These are very, very big markets, and I think when you start to differentiate yourself, or you start differentiating the founders from themselves, is when they really speak about the customer in a very intimate way. They know who their customer is, the sizing of it, how to acquire this customer, what's the value prop to it, what kind of price points, right? And I think there are a few of them that at least convinced me that they are on their way of really understanding who their customer are. So Yedu obviously is an investment that we share because we think they do that very well. Chipper was very interesting, and the way that he kind of took it from a very large student debt market to size it down to who his customer is. Bedrock as well. I thought know that.
Norma, some thoughts?
Yeah. So when it comes to our fund, investing in hardware or manufacturing, Yedu is exciting. I mentioned we have an investment in the concussion awareness space. So unfortunately, that company is not a fit. Aries didn't get the proper time to pitch, but there's something really interesting and exciting about not so much the foldable display for me, but the idea that this is a materials research company and that they're creating autonomous R&D. So the potential for that.
Engineers.
What's that?
With 50% female engineers in their company.
Yes, certainly exciting too. So for our fund, Yedu and Ares. But I agree there's something about Chipper as well.
Yeah.
And I think Ramona is tackling a huge problem. I mean, I think about Acorns when she mentioned, I think about Stash, both at Series E with valuations 500 to 800 plus million. There's definitely an opportunity there. And she teased a few partnerships coming up, but I'm really curious about whether that means that she's developing the internal content and offering and platform, because this referral piece is not so exciting.
Well, on those two companies, there's two companies. I think one is My Money, My Future, and the other one is Tagit. They're both, they're looking at, I consider them secular trends. These are growth trends where millennials they consume a certain way, including financial services and content. And then I think contextual commerce, right, of having something in the moment is something that a lot of big companies are putting a lot of investments. So I just would love to learn more about those companies. I think even if it's not a good fit for the fund, I can think about a lot of angel investors that would like to participate in things like that, because those are the ones that if they really hit with such a huge secular tailwind behind them, could be interesting companies down the line.
Making a match is more than capital just in this very moment. Making a match is building a relationship, opening up your network, supporting Latino founders to go to that next stage. This is not easy. And we're just really proud of the fact that we had 9 amazing founders present.
Yeah.
And help me give them a hand. Let's call up those 9 founders. And madrinas and padrino, tell us how much capital you want to deploy, subject to your due diligence. If we can have the entrepreneurs come out on stage, just so everyone can recognize. Great. Great. Madrinas y padrino, where do you have a match that we can speak about some capital deployed today?
This is like face your accuser. They outnumber us.
Why don't we pull back?
So, I'm interested in doing a match with a Chipper, I think from a seed stage perspective. Yeah, and just from just having invested in Acorns, I think there's a lot of advice I could provide from how I've seen them grow to Series E, and I think there's a potential match there. And then on the growth side, I like Yedu and Bedrock. I think I would love to continue the conversation, but those are the ones that.
Wonderful. Great.
Well, Yedu, I'll continue to support you as long as I can with the fund. I think in terms of new investments, Bedrock is very interesting. We'd love to spend more time with you, Will. We share a co-investor, and it speaks very highly of you. Chipper as well. I think you're tackling a very interesting problem. I really like how you demonstrated knowledge of the customer and of the market. And I think it's one of the huge headwinds that our society is facing, honestly, student debt. And we're seeing it in other portfolio companies through, we invested in a company in prop tech, and it's focusing on millennials. And one of the biggest reasons millennials aren't buying as many homes as they should be is because they have student debt. So I'd love to connect you there. And there's another company that I'd like to connect you as well, Listo Financial, that is helping Latino millennials figure out financial services as well. I'd love to learn more about Tagit. So I think that's one that we could potentially do on the seed level as well. Our typical seed checks are anywhere from 150 to 500,000, and we'd love to just kind of learn the business a little more and where you are and how we can actually add value beyond the capital.
Rising stars, you were all amazing. You're a little too early for us, but I would love to have a conversation with Tony Chipper and with Ramona, just to get to talk more about my money, my future, understand it a little better, see where I can make a connection in Los Angeles, maybe another startup fund. But you all did amazing. But I think I can have a conversation with both of you. With the Series A, it was tough because you guys all have such amazing traction. I am deeply impressed. It makes my job only harder. But if I had to pick one that I would want to have a conversation and possibly invest anywhere between $1 to $2 million, depending on, pending diligence, it would be RS. David, thank you.
Oh my gosh. So our fund, early stage, hardware manufacturing, we would probably look at Yedu. And Addis might be a little too late for us, but we'd be interested in taking a look. But we have Tom's money to spend, so I want to spend Tom's money. So let's talk about how we allocate
So it's easier to spend other people's money, huh?
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, if we didn't mention you, I truly believe this. All of us can connect you to people who would definitely add value, are experts in your fields. I definitely want to connect you with Gusto, which is a recruiting platform that can help you connect you to their small businesses. And so there's plenty of stuff that we can do for you, okay?
Plenty of matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tom's 100K, maybe we allocate that for the rising stars. What are your thoughts? Do I have a motion?
I like that. We
It's
talked
so
about,
hard to do this in public.
Perhaps.
Man.
We talked about
part of the magic.
One or two, right? So maybe we can
Yes.
start. We can start kind of narrowing it down to two, and then we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think both Roman and I mentioned Chipper as an allocation that we'd be interested in. So I propose that we do that.
Chipper and?
Huh?
So Chipper be
I
one
just
of
said Chipper as one of them.
Okay.
Or
Good deal.
I agree.
Okay.
Chipper, stand back up here.
I would.
Yeah.
I would like to have two.
Yeah.
I propose we have two from Rising Stars, and so I would nominate My Money, My Future as a second.
Okay.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Other thoughts?
I agree.
I guess I'm a little. Oh, you see?
I agree with Chipper and
Yeah, great.
I'm a
My
little
Money.
torn
between.
on the second one.
Who's your second pick?
I feel like Tagit can also be there as well, but I just would like to learn. Like, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So if you were to receive $50,000, like what would that capital be used for? And same Ramona as well. Like, I guess for both of you, like $50,000, what does it get you? Where do you use it? And where will you be after?
Yeah, so we are in final negotiations with a few universities who actually broadcast their games on a national scale, and they do so on TV networks that are nationally televised. So with a $50,000 investment, we would be able to bring in the team that it's going to take for us to scale successfully. Because as you're all very well aware, a lot of the companies that do get to this stage, when they get to scaling, it takes a lot of capital to be able to do so. But our product is finished. Our contracts are in the final stages of discussion, and we would love to have your support to be able to scale successfully.
Great. So if we got a $50,000 investment, $25,000 would be used for marketing. Because we've never had a budget for marketing, so we've only had organic growth. So what we've seen is 20% month over month in the organic, and with marketing dollars, we'll be able to do that. The other half will be put towards our engineering team. So we have a lot of rollouts for our B2B product, but we need an additional engineer to get that going.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, no pressure, madrinas and padrino, but we've got 1 minute to make decisions on this investment, because I know that.
Yeah. Same for me.
Oh, you stay. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, you're two. You got your two.
Same for me.
What?
And have you been leaning one way or the other? Or chipper for sure for
I
you,
say,
right?
yeah.
I think that's the one we all agree on.
Right.
And then is there a second that you have, or no? You want all on chipper?
I'm going to personally look at chipper from a personal investment, so that's why I said $100,000 for chipper. But if there's
Awesome.
But if there's something else,
So do you agree on the two, right? I'm torn within the three, and you are definitely going all in on chipper. Let's do this. I'll add 50,000 to the pot if we invest in all three.
Excellent. Good deal. Three startups. Great.
Yeah.
That works.
You
All right.
agree?
Yeah.
All three? Yes?
Excellent. Good deal.
All right.
It's done.
All right. Now, our Series A.
Oh my gosh. So one thing I have to say is that there were a few surprises, right? There are people who were, hold on.
Before we leave that round, I'd just like to interrupt because my wife, Corinne, she nudged me because we care a lot about what's happening with our youth and those who are going to college and all that sort of thing. So when she heard relative to chipper, she said, we need to invest. So I said,
Awesome.
So the Trujillos will chip in $100,000.
That's great.
And there was a gentleman sitting next to me when he heard that. He said he was going to chip in 50. Is that right?
Do I hear 150?
Guillermo Diaz, who is our famous star from Cisco. Personally, he wants to chip in another 50. So I will stop right there for a second because I have some money in my pocket from Mark Benioff and Oscar Munoz, and so I'm still listening to the conversations.
All right.
Thank you. Well, great. At this time, congratulations to our rising stars. Our Series A, hang out. Thank you.
All right. Hey, good job, guys. All of you.
Thank you. Our Series A. We're not done with you guys yet.
Oh boy, that's tough.
You know.
So, I was saying I was surprised with some of the pitches here because there was an incredible level of humility around revenue. Recruitology, you blew me away when you said 6 million in year one, 12 million in year two, and you said it very matter-of-factly when you've done this on 1 million raised, right? Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So that blew me away. Same for Yedu, and same for Bedrock too. So that traction.
And Aries, I know you've been very capital efficient too. So all of you, congrats.
Yeah, very impressive.
So yeah, this is really hard for me.
Which means that wherever this money goes, we know it's gonna they're gonna use.
Yes, they're gonna use it well. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do we have 500 to allocate,
We have
right?
500.
Wait,
Do I what?
how much do we have?
500.
500K. 500K. Where do you want to put 500K?
500 play plus your fund, Roman.
Oh, man, it's maybe. well, yeah, that'll be
Everybody's fine.
cheating because Yedu is already.
Just so that you all know and get a flavor of this, right? The reality is that it takes months to allocate capital. What's happening here is the mind of the investor is engaged and falling in love with what's taking place. But the reality is that there's a lot of diligence that goes into it because these folks are fiduciaries of others' capital. And their job is to make sure that that makes money. And their job is to continue to perform in amazing ways. Ricardo, you've been through this before. It's very stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are heroes. I mean, like I said earlier, it takes 5 to 10 years to get anywhere. The learning curve is extremely steep if you are a first-time tech founder. The second, third, fourth company, this doesn't take four years to try to get it. So it gets easier. But yeah, these guys are heroes. To get to the type of traction that these guys have is insane. And when we were working in the presentations, funny enough, you get to slide 9, and then slide 9 says we make $12 million in revenue. You're like, that should be on the first slide. Let's kind of go back, right? So yeah, incredible traction, incredible founders. So super, super proud.
Great.
So I have quick comments. I know nothing about CPG and the advertising world, but I can be like data moved. And the data that you shared around insights and analytics and the timeline was very compelling. Ares, I'm super excited about this autonomous R&D idea. Yedu, I'm curious whether your platform could have different verticals. So if someone said, I only want female-founded suppliers, could you deliver? If someone said, I only want green cleaning products, could you deliver? I think that is really exciting as you think about the US market. Recruitology, what is exciting to me is that you've been in this space. You founded a company that was matching college students. And so you're taking that knowledge and building out a non-platform platform, right? That's not a word, but it's that's how I'm thinking about.
That's a cool term. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll start using that.
You heard it here, folks.
The anti-platform?
Yeah. So that is really exciting to me. Again, for our fund, we would be looking at Yedu, possibly Ares, but not sure. And for today, we're picking 2 companies.
One of the things that I'd like to share with the audience very quickly is the way that you all talked about the founder story of how you identify what the problem you're solving, whether it was a prior experience or working in the CPG side. I mean, that's very valuable, and investors always look for that edge. Like, how is this team going to have the edge on the competition? And one is domain expertise. I mean, you live the problem, so hats off for that. Now we have a tough choice.
Motion.
No, in terms of the 2, I mean, I think Yedu, obviously, I'm really interested from both my fund, because I do mostly seed, but you guys are right at the 1 million raise, and so I'm interested in investing from Chingona Ventures. But from today for an allocation, I think my vote is Yedu, and I really like Bedrock, but I know that we all have different opinions, so.
I told Edis we can have a conversation, and again, pending diligence, I can invest $1 to $2 million. And every single one of you, if you're up for it, I'd like to connect with you and really take a deep dive and see how I can help you get matched up, or if maybe there is additional interest from my fund and my partners. Right. So all of you, I'm open to it.
So my top 2 picks for the Latitude capital we're deploying are Yedu and Ares.
Yeah.
Yedu and Ares.
Yedu and Ares, Yedu and Ares.
I said Yedu and Ares as well.
I am a little torn again, but it's I would say Yedu and Bedrock would be
50-50.
Okay.
So we have 3, right?
What if we had another $500,000?
Oh, that would make life so much easier.
Okay. Done. $500,000 more.
Okay.
So.
And then
Who's that coming from?
That comes from somewhere in the ether of investments that we can manage.
Then that'll make it easy.
Then everyone, wait, all 4 get 250.
All 4 to 50.
All 4 to 50. I think we're all edible.
Wow.
Well, wait. So 250 for Will. I mean, you're raising 10. You're raising 10. How does that sound to you? 250 out of the 10. Good start.
Right.
Solo.
Can we get the mic? Okay.
There we go.
All right. Well, I'm obviously impressed with all of you. So from our Latitude fund, we'll add another $1 million.
Wow.
So that you divide it by 4, and all of you are going to be walking away with money, but money put to work. And we're going to want all of you, everybody that's getting funded here, to come back next year and tell us what's happened in the last year, because all of you are terrific. And our judges are terrific. Beto, terrific. Thank you so much for curating this. And we are going to make this an annual event. We're going to raise more money as Latitude, as a fund, Latitud, or con Latitud. And so we're very proud of all of you. I mean, those of you that are running funds, Quintana Ventures, I can't think of a better name. My wife, Corinne, she's got a T-shirt with that name on it. And all of you. I mean, it's just terrific what you're doing already as funds. And we want to make sure we're supporting you and the visibility as well as we think about next year. Because we're going to make this bigger. We're going to make it even more impactful in terms of dollars raised. You saw a little bit of initial action yesterday or day before from a couple gentlemen that were on stage. But I really commend all of you. You got great business ideas. Now it's time to perform. And I know every day is about performance and delivery. And as a CEO, I can tell you, if you get any money from me, you're going to be accountable and you're going to hear about it. And that's kind of the thing of today. But we're great that we were all matched up. And by the way, we had another $50,000 committed to Chipper because of the sentiment in the room about kind of the social purpose in addition to the business purpose. And Audrey, you want to? I'm just going to let you, because I know we have to close.
No, we're also touched about what they're doing. I have a son in college, and Felix de Herrera, my partner, has a son in college, so we're like that, a concept. And Blue Key Equity Partners will co-invest with you the $50,000.
Okay. So, Beto, I'm going to turn it back to you because we have to close. The hotel's waiting for the room. And you've done a great job, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Congrats. Well, you all got 500, right? Right?
Yep.
That's great.
All right. Great.
There you go. Is that a better start? Is that a better?